A powerful black billionaire saw something that broke his heart, a young mother searching through garbage just to feed her hungry baby. What he did next wasn't just kindness. It was something nobody expected, something that changed both their lives forever. Stay with me, because this story will touch your soul. Hey, beautiful people. Before we dive into this powerful story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these life-changing stories. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Now grab your tissues because this one's going to move you. You know, sometimes life has a way of bringing two broken souls together in the most unexpected moments. And this story right here, it's one of those moments that'll make you believe in miracles again. So sit back, get comfortable, and let me tell you about a night that changed everything. The city streets were dark and cold that night. Most people were already home, tucked in their warm beds, but not Brielle. She sat under a broken streetlight with her 8-month-old baby boy, Caleb, crying in her arms. Her clothes were torn and dirty, barely enough to keep her warm. She was shivering, but it wasn't just from the cold. It was from hunger, from fear, from the weight of everything she'd been carrying alone for so long. She rocked little Caleb gently, whispering through her tears, "Please, baby, please stop crying. Mama's here. I got you." But her soft words couldn't stop his tears. That baby was hungry, and she knew it. Her own stomach was hurting from not eating since yesterday morning, but she didn't care about herself. All she could think about was her baby boy and how his tiny body was trembling in her arms. Brielle looked around at the people walking past. Nobody stopped. Nobody cared. They just kept walking like she was invisible, like her baby's cries meant nothing. She closed her eyes and prayed silently, "God, I don't care if I stay hungry tonight. Just help me find something for my baby. Please don't let him sleep with an empty stomach again." But prayer wasn't enough that night. She had to do something. So with shaking legs, she stood up and tied Caleb on her back with her torn scarf. She started walking down the street, hoping, praying someone would help. She saw a man coming toward her, and she dropped to her knees right there on the cold pavement. Tears streaming down her face, she begged, "Please, sir, my baby hasn't eaten since morning. Just a little money, please. I'll be forever grateful." The man stopped and looked at her. For a second, she thought he might help, but then his face changed. His eyes went cold and hard. "Am I the one who got you pregnant?" he spat out. "Am I your baby's father? Why you bothering me?" And just like that, he pushed her aside and kept walking. Brielle's heart shattered into a million pieces right there. She tried 2 more people. One woman called her irresponsible. A young man made suggestions that made her skin crawl. After that last rejection, she wiped her tears and gave up on asking for help. That's when she saw them, the garbage bins near a closed restaurant at the end of the block. I know what you're thinking. No mother should ever have to do this, but desperation makes you do things you never thought you would. Brielle walked toward those bins with heavy feet, whispering to her baby, "Forgive me, Caleb." Mama has no choice. The smell hit her before she even got close, but she pushed through it. She opened that bin with one hand while covering her nose with the other, tears falling freely now. Her fingers searched through the garbage until she felt something soft, a piece of stale bread. She pulled it out and blew the dirt off again and again. Then she found a half-eaten apple and cleaned it with her scarf as best she could. She sat down right there on the cold ground next to the trash bin and broke off a small piece of bread. She chewed it first to make sure it was safe, then tried to feed her crying baby, praying it wouldn't make him sick. But what Brielle didn't know was that someone was watching. A shiny black SUV was parked quietly at the corner of the street, and inside sat Winston Carter, one of the richest black men in the city. Everyone knew his name. He owned one of the biggest tech companies around. He had power, respect, and more money than most people could dream of. He'd just left a late-night board meeting, tired and thinking about work, about business deals, about everything except what he was about to witness. Winston was driving slowly when he saw her. A young black woman with a baby on her back, digging through trash bins in the middle of the night. His hands froze on the steering wheel. He parked at a distance and just watched. He watched her pull out that piece of bread. He watched her clean it with her dirty scarf. He watched her taste it first before trying to feed her baby. And something inside him broke. See, Winston had everything money could buy. A mansion with more rooms than he could count, luxury cars, designer clothes, investments worth millions. But he didn't have anyone waiting for him at home. No wife, no children, just staff and empty rooms. His house was always quiet, always cold, despite all its beauty. And seeing this young mother trying to feed her baby from a garbage bin while he had everything, it did something to his heart that he couldn't explain. He couldn't just sit there and watch. He jumped out of his car and ran toward her before he even thought about it. Brielle heard footsteps and froze with that bread still in her hand. She tried to stand up, her heart racing. What if this man wanted to hurt her? What if he was like the others who only wanted something in return? She held Caleb closer, ready to run if she had to, but Winston stopped a few feet away, his voice soft and gentle. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Brielle looked away, shame burning her face. Winston took another step closer. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. I saw you eating from the trash and I can see your baby needs food. Please, let me buy you something proper to eat." Brielle shook her head quickly, not believing what she was hearing. "No, sir, I'm fine. I don't have anything to give you in return." But she wasn't fine, not at all. And Caleb started crying again, louder this time, and Winston's heart couldn't take it. He bent down, his voice almost begging, "Please, let me help you. Just for tonight, for the sake of this baby." Something in his voice made Brielle pause. She looked at her baby's red face, his weak cries, his little body shaking. She had no choice. "I would be grateful if you could buy us some food," she finally whispered. Winston smiled gently and led them to his SUV. Brielle hesitated when she saw that expensive car, but Winston's voice was so kind, so patient. "You'll be safe. I promise." They drove through the quiet streets until they reached a bright 24-hour diner. The smell of hot food hit Brielle the moment they stepped inside, and her stomach twisted painfully. She sat in a corner booth with her head down, not wanting people to stare at her dirty clothes. Winston ordered food and brought it to her. When Brielle picked up the spoon, her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it. The moment that warm food touched her tongue, tears filled her eyes. But she didn't eat right away. No, she fed Caleb first, watching him eat hungrily, smiling through her tears as he swallowed each bite. Only after her baby had enough did she start eating. And when she did, she ate like she was scared the food would disappear. Winston sat across from her, watching quietly, and tears filled his eyes too. He'd seen poverty before, written checks to charities, donated to food programs. But sitting across from this young mother and watching her and her baby eat like their lives depended on it, that hit different. When she finished eating, Winston cleared his throat softly. "What's your name?" She looked up at him with grateful eyes. "My name is Brielle." Winston smiled. "That's beautiful. Do you have somewhere to stay tonight?" She looked down at Caleb and took a deep breath. "No, sir." Winston leaned back and thought for a moment. Then he made a decision that would change both their lives. "Come with me. You and your baby can stay at my house. You'll be safe there." Brielle's mouth fell open, but no words came out. This man was serious? Her heart raced with hope and fear at the same time. But something about Winston made her feel safe, and she needed to protect her baby. So she followed him. The drive was quiet. She kept sneaking glances at him, wondering who this man really was and why he was helping them. When they pulled up to Winston's mansion, Brielle's eyes went wide. The compound was massive and beautiful, with automatic gates and lights everywhere. She'd never seen a house this big except in movies. Winston helped her inside, and she stood frozen at the entrance, afraid to step on the clean floors with her dirty feet. "It's okay," he said gently. "You can rest here tonight." Brielle fell to her knees right there, holding Caleb tight, crying, "Thank you, sir." "God bless you. Nobody has ever helped me like this." Winston touched her shoulder softly. "It's okay, Brielle. You're safe now." He showed her to a guest room with a soft bed, gave her blankets and water, and told her she could call staff if she needed anything. Then he left her alone. Brielle stood there for a long moment, then slowly placed Caleb on the bed. She looked around the room, touching the soft curtains, the clean sheets, and cried again. This felt like a dream. She lay down beside her baby but couldn't sleep right away. Her mind kept going back to the man who'd done all this without asking for anything in return. The next morning, Winston brought a doctor to check on them both. Brielle couldn't believe it. Nobody had ever cared enough to make sure she was healthy. The doctor said they were okay but malnourished and gave them vitamins. Winston's staff brought breakfast and new clothes. Brielle could barely speak through her tears. Later, Winston sat down with her and asked gently, "Brielle, will you tell me what happened? How did you end up out there?" She was quiet at first, then took a deep breath and started talking. "I wasn't always like this," she said, her voice heavy with pain. "I came from a good family, but they cared more about what people thought than they cared about me. Everything had to look perfect." She told him about Terrell, the man who promised to marry her, who said all the right things, who made her believe in love. "I gave him my heart, my trust, everything. When I got pregnant, I was scared but happy. I thought we'd build a life together." Her tears started falling. "But when my parents found out, they were furious. They said I'd shamed the family. They gave me a choice, abort the baby or leave forever. I couldn't kill my baby, so I left." Brielle's voice broke as she continued. "I went to Terrell thinking he'd stand by me. But the moment I told him about the baby, he changed. Said he wasn't ready, that I was trying to trap him. He chased me out and told everyone the baby wasn't his, that I was sleeping around. People believed him. I lost my friends, my family, my reputation. Everything." She wiped her tears quickly. "I worked small jobs while I was pregnant, but as my belly grew, nobody wanted to hire me. I slept in abandoned buildings, in the market, wherever I could find shelter. When Caleb was born, I was so weak, but I promised him I'd never let anything happen to him. For 6 months we've been on the streets. Last night I couldn't take his crying anymore. That's why I went to the trash." Winston sat there, his heart breaking with every word. He'd never heard anything like this. "You didn't deserve any of that," he said quietly. "No woman deserves that." Brielle looked at him with tears in her eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt truly seen. That's when Winston made another life-changing decision. "Brielle, you don't have to carry this pain anymore. From today, this house is your home. You won't worry about food or safety. I'll help you get back on your feet. You and Caleb deserve a new beginning." Brielle couldn't believe what she was hearing. She dropped to her knees again, holding his hand. "I don't know how to repay you." Winston smiled. "You don't need to. Just take care of your son and let him grow strong. That's all I ask." Weeks turned into months, and Brielle and Caleb stayed in Winston's guest house. Something beautiful started happening. Winston found himself visiting them more and more. At first he told himself he was just checking on them, making sure they were okay. But the truth was, he wanted to be near them. Brielle's smile healed something in him he didn't even know was broken. Her laughter filled his empty house. And little Caleb? That baby started calling him Dada. And Winston's heart melted every single time. Winston noticed how smart Brielle was. She had a natural business mind, always coming up with ideas, always thinking ahead. One day, she mentioned she used to dream of owning a small bakery. Winston didn't hesitate. "I'll give you a loan to start your business." "Not a gift, a loan. And when you're ready, you can pay me back." Brielle worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. Within 2 years, her bakery was thriving. She paid Winston back every single penny, and he was so proud of her. His house wasn't lonely anymore. There was life in it now. Laughter, warmth, love, and Winston realized he'd fallen completely in love with Brielle. But life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? One evening, while Brielle was closing her bakery, a voice behind her made her freeze. "Brielle!" She turned around slowly, and her heart stopped. It was Terrell, the man who'd destroyed her life 3 years ago. He looked different now, older, broken, tired. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice shaking. Terrell stepped closer. "I came to see you. I need to talk." Brielle's anger rose. "You have no right to be here. You left me when I needed you most. You lied about me. You destroyed me." Terrell lowered his head in shame. "I know, I was selfish and foolish, but Brielle, everything changed. I had an accident. The doctors said I can never have children again. You're my only chance." His voice cracked. "I know you kept the baby. He's my son. Please, let me be part of his life." Brielle's heart twisted with emotions she couldn't name, but before she could respond, a car pulled up. Winston stepped out holding flowers, ready to finally tell Brielle he loved her. But when he saw her standing close to a strange man, his smile faded. "Brielle?" he called softly. She turned, shocked. "Winston." Winston looked at Terrell. "Who is he?" Terrell spoke up. "I'm Terrell. I'm Brielle's first love, and I'm the father of her child." Winston's world crashed. The flowers trembled in his hand. "Is that true?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Brielle swallowed hard. "Yes. He's Caleb's father. But that was years ago, Winston. He abandoned us." Winston's heart shattered. Just when he'd found the courage to confess his love, everything fell apart. Terrell dropped to his knees in front of Brielle. "I made mistakes, but I'm here now. Please give me a chance to make things right." Tears filled Brielle's eyes. "You think it's that easy? After everything you put me through?" Winston couldn't take it anymore. He turned and walked quickly toward his car, throwing the flowers to the ground. But then he heard her voice. "Winston!" He stopped and turned. Brielle was running toward him, tears streaming down her face. She grabbed his hand, refusing to let go. "Please don't leave," she cried. "He means nothing to me anymore." Winston opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, Brielle did something that shocked everyone. She leaned forward and kissed him. Not a small kiss. A deep, passionate kiss full of all the love she'd been holding inside. Winston froze for a second, then pulled her close and kissed her back. Terrell stood there watching, his chest burning with shame and regret. He'd lost her. Completely. He lowered his eyes and walked away quietly, knowing this was the cost of the choices he'd made years ago. After Terrell left, Winston held Brielle's face gently. "I love you, Brielle. I've loved you for so long." Brielle's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Winston. You saved my life. You showed me what real love looks like." 2 weeks later, Brielle's parents showed up at her bakery. They looked older, their shoulders bent with regret. "Brielle," her father said, his voice breaking, "we came to say we're sorry. We were wrong. We cared more about what people thought than we cared about you. Please forgive us. We want to be part of your life and know our grandson." Brielle stood still, tears falling. This was the moment she'd prayed for. "I forgive you," she whispered. "But promise me you'll never let pride be more important than love again." Her father nodded quickly. "We promise, baby girl. We promise." And right there, Brielle hugged her parents for the first time in 3 years. Terrell came back days later, humble and quiet. "I'm not here to fight. I just want to thank you for even listening. If you'll allow me, I'd like to see my son sometimes. I can't change the past, but I want to try to do better." Brielle looked at him for a long moment. "I forgive you, Terrell. But forgiveness doesn't mean we go back. You can see Caleb twice a week. That's it." Terrell's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Brielle. You'll never regret this." 3 months later, Winston walked into Brielle's house holding a small box close to his heart. When she opened the door, he got down on one knee. "Brielle, you changed my life. You showed me what love really means. You brought light into my darkness. Will you marry me?" Brielle's hands flew to her mouth and tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she cried. "Yes, Winston, I'll marry you." The wedding was beautiful. Brielle walked down the aisle in a stunning white dress, her father beside her, tears of joy in his eyes. Winston stood at the altar, his heart beating fast. Even Terrell came, standing quietly in the back, accepting his place with grace. Years passed, and Winston and Brielle were blessed with 3 more children. Their home was filled with love, laughter, and the sound of children playing. Winston was never lonely again. Brielle never went hungry again. Together, they built a family based on second chances, forgiveness, and real love. And every night, as Brielle tucked her babies into bed, she'd smile and whisper, "God turned my tears into joy." One act of kindness can change 2 lives forever. True wealth isn't measured in money, but in the love we share. Parents, your child is always worth more than your reputation. Fathers, stand up for your responsibilities. And remember, choices have consequences, but forgiveness has power. Your darkest night might be just before your greatest blessing.